We're Man United. We're taking over Barcelona. We're Man United. MUFC. Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Premier League preview. We are once again back for some more action today. We're going to be talking all things Premier League, so do make sure you get all your comments in the chat. You know, I like answers the questions such as, are you guys doing okay today? Man United, last night played Real Betis in the Europa League. We'll talk about that. We're going to dive into some tactical stuff as well. Bruno Fernandes' new role within Erik ten Hag's Manchester United. We're going to talk a little bit about Arsenal and the fatigue that they could see at the back end of the season as they are chasing their first Premier League title in 19 years. A little chat about Chelsea, a little chat about Brighton, and then it's big GG's. But welcome everyone to the stream. Maka, as always, in the chat right now. Big up Maka. Really, really good stuff here, guys. Big up everyone as well. Casper from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Argentina. We've probably got one of my favourite ever Argentinian players at Manchester United right now, and Lisandro Martinez. He was superb yesterday against Real Betis. Of course, having a bit of a sticky game against Liverpool at the weekend. Brandon in the chat as well. Welcome, my friend. How are you doing on this glorious day? Premier League fixtures this weekend. It's not the greatest weekend of Premier League football, but we got to go through these weekends to get the real classic Premier League weekends. You know, your City, Liverpools, your Arsenal, Man United's type fixtures. Bournemouth face Liverpool in the early kickoff. Then, of course, we've got Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest, Leicester versus Chelsea, Leeds, Brighton, Everton, Brentford at 3 o'clock. Palace face Manchester City at 5:30. Then we've got Fulham, Arsenal, West Ham, Villa, Man United, Southampton, and rounding things off at 4:30. On Sunday is Newcastle, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ross in the chat, just watch your De Zerbi video. Completely agree, he's changing the game. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out on the main channel, we've got a video where we've basically gone in and we've analysed De Zerbi's Brighton. And the thing that kind of jumped out was their possession play. So we'll have a little chat about that as the stream goes through. It was very, very interesting. The way that they're manipulating the opponents, how their setup looks, how they're drawing the opponents on. And quite frankly, I think we've got a real innovator in Roberto De Zerbi in the Premier League, and we are very lucky to have him. Always enjoyed his Sassuolo teams over in Italy. Very interesting possession play out the back. And quite frankly, when it becomes 3 o'clock, Leeds versus Brighton is the game that I'm going to be watching. I'm quite excited about that. Fat in the chat as well, like Fernandes' new role. Yeah, we'll dive into that. Talk MUFC, Tom from Gambia. Big up the Statman. Well done, well done, well done. Good stuff getting into the chat. And Enoch from Kenya. We are an international crew. You know, this is beautiful, guys. Let's smash that like button. Let's get this party started. So, of course, let's dive into yesterday's game. Of course, we all talk kind of the Southampton game, how I feel this one will go, how United might need to tweak a few things to get at Southampton. Of course, their 4-4-2 has caused a few problems under Ruben Selas. But we'll dive into kind of Man United and kind of the new function of the football club. Of course, the hammering United took last weekend. It wasn't great. It wasn't pretty. And it wasn't a great performance at all, I think is the only way to describe it. I thought Erik ten Hag, got some stuff wrong. I thought that, the players just in that second half just fell apart. They stopped doing what they've been previously doing this season in terms of their pressing, their structure, how they've been playing on the ball. And they got absolutely smacked. I think that's the only way we look at it. 7-0. I still don't believe that's true. But Man United are still 7 points ahead of Liverpool in the Premier League. And of course, 4 ahead of Tottenham. They're the two teams that will be really testing United for that Champions League spot. And to be honest, I think United are absolutely sound. I think they've shown such promise in so many games this season. You take into consideration United have won 30 games in all competitions in European football, more than any other side. Or is it 31 now? Might even be 31 now. Another game won yesterday. But again, United need to kick back in. I think there's been some real sloppy performances, especially in the first half following the Europa League. The Leicester City game was probably the best example of that. Really sloppy out the traps. And again, we might need to see a little bit more rotation from Erik ten Hag. But, there has to be a reaction. I think one of the big things that I want to see against Southampton is Marcus Rashford through the middle as the number 9. Valveco's work rate is sensational. His pressing was very, very good against Real Betis, but in front of goal, not so good. But let's get on to that game. That's the game we kind of all want to talk about. United, of course, beating Barcelona 4-3 on aggregate, and then facing Real Betis. Again, I thought it was a pretty similar story. First half performance, not great. I thought United were good in the first sort of 15 minutes of the game, and then the possession got very, very sloppy. Players like Casemiro giving the ball away in midfield is a rarity, and that started crept in. David De Gea with the ball at his feet was absolutely atrocious. Completed only 1 of his 6 long passes. He is a massive problem for Manchester United right now. In the summer, a new goalkeeper has to come in that can play with the ball at his feet. It's just one of these things. De Gea has been a great servant for Manchester United. Will go down as one of the best ever goalkeepers with the likes of Peter Schmeichel, with Edwin van der Sar. I hold both of those 2 players above David De Gea, but I think David De Gea is in the top 3 there in my lifetime of goalkeepers. Great, fine, except that David De Gea is, been that for Man United, and now it's kind of time to move on. The 3 times, was it, where he gave away possession in such bad areas and caused United massive, massive problems. But let's move on to talking about the positives. And I think one of the big positives of the new position for Bruno Fernandes is the fact, as we're saying in the chat from Ross, Casemiro, Bruno deeper roles with Sancho at number 10. This is what I want. I've been thinking this in my mind, that United would be better with Bruno deep. And I'm thinking this from a perspective as a long-term thing. Like Bruno Fernandes, as he gets older and ages, he's still a very young player at the moment. He's, south of 30. But as he gets into his 30s, 31, 32, 33, that Bruno Fernandes becomes this deep-lying playmaker, the guy that's going to get on the ball and control the tempo. But actually what we saw against Real Sociedad was him do that. And I think that was one of Bruno's better performances, or best performances of the season, should I say. He's only had 1 more touches of the football in one other game against Ammonia in the Europa League. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic. We actually saw Fred higher up the pitch in more of a number 10 area. But I think the beauty of the sort of playing Bruno in this position is, not only does he have that freedom to kind of drop into the fullback positions to receive the ball when United are building, picking up the ball at right back and at left back at times, but it has that fluidity to kind of start low and end up high, and it's that classic, it's the classic Erik ten Hag number 8 role that it could be Bruno's role. I think his skill set is perfect for this. He works exceedingly hard off the ball. His mobility to get round the pitch is very, very good. He's a sensational passer when it comes to progressive passes. You look at United pre-Erik ten Hag, he was literally Man United's only progressor of the football. So having him in the deep areas at some points and then in the high areas, we're only going to see the better out of that. United play a better style of football. I think one of the other big things as well with Bruno is that you're going to get more out of Anthony. One of the things that we consistently talk about on this channel is how United are so left-heavy. They're so left-heavy. And when Bruno plays attacking midfield, he drifts there. When Eriksen plays in midfield, he drifts there. The beauty of starting Bruno Fernandes as a deep-lying midfielder that's going to get on the ball in deep areas, and then when he moves high, it's that link-up with Anthony, and we saw that in a number of moments in the game, which we'll have a look at in a sec in terms of the link-up. But I do think Bruno in this deeper role is absolutely, it's spot on. You look at his heat map. He's involved all over the pitch. Low left, low right, defensive midfield. And he's, the other thing with the heat map as well, it's right-centric, something that we just mentioned there. But statistically, a fantastic performance, a goal and an assist. 97 touches of the football, again, as I mentioned. That's the second highest of the season, only behind the game against Ammonia, where basically he was pinging balls to Cristiano Ronaldo for the entire game, and Ronaldo couldn't put the ball in the back of net. But 5 chances created, 54 passes completed, 8 crosses, 6 long balls, 2 big chances created, 2 shots, 1 goal, of course. 3 out of 3 of his dribbles completed, and he made 8 tackles, winning 3 of them. When you look from an average position perspective, even though he is dominating deep, he's actually higher than Fred, who started the game in a higher position. Fred is an interesting one. I think he's got a role in certain games, and that's what it should be. A role in certain games for Fred. He doesn't have that technical quality to play this number 10 role, if this is the case, and this is what Man United want to do, if they are starting Bruno Fernandes deep with Fred high. Again, that simply means that Jadon Sancho comes into that attacking midfield position. And then United have got Bruno, Jadon, Rashford, Anthony, and Weghorst. Or alternatively, we're adding this another level. Alejandro Garnacho comes in, Rashford through the middle. That front five, I'd love to see that. I really would. Ross in the chat. Pass completion is higher as well. Yes, it's actually I think it was his 7th best of the season for Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes completed 79.4% of his passes in the game. That's something that I get frustrated with him. Sometimes he doesn't make the easy passes, but I think he improved in that part of the match. So it's really interesting. It's a really interesting, different positional change, and I like it. United looked more like a 4-3-3, you'd say, than a 4-2-3-1 yesterday. The 3-8s were a little bit more obvious, in a sense. And Erik ten Hag, of course, built his last great Ajax team with a, box-to-box 8. He may be going down that line that actually having a kind of 3-man midfield is where you want to go. And if that is, Jadon Sancho in some games when you've got to beat a low block like this weekend, I'd love to see him play there. Or Marcel Sabitzer if you want someone to get on the ball a little bit more in control. If you want someone to break the play, Fred. Having that kind of understanding in midfield was only good for United. Paul in the chat, Pellistri looked bright. Yeah, I thought Pellistri was really, really good. He gave something a bit different in the sense of, we know that Anthony's going to be more dominant onto that left foot. And yeah, we saw him go on the outside yesterday, and yes, it's good. One of the really weird things, I was in the Stretford end yesterday, and there was so much complaining. There was just so much complaining. And you just think, some of these players are still very, very young. Anthony is very, very young. It's exactly the same narrative when Marcus Rashford was the same age. It's really, really weird. And my advice to everybody is just give this player more time. He's been in the Premier League for half a season, maybe 2/3 of a season. The quality that he's got is very, very good. Yes, he's frustrating at times. Yes, he needs to be more complete in his game. Yes, he needs to create more chances. But there is something really good there. There is something really, really good there. And his goal yesterday was kind of a classic Anthony goal, and we've not seen enough of those. Off from the right-hand side onto that left foot, curling into the back post, quality. But having someone like Pellistri to compete for that position is only a good thing. And his impact was really good, really direct, and likes to go wide. And we don't really see natural wingers that often anymore because everyone is fixated on playing inside forwards or inverted wingers. And I quite like the difference that someone like Pellistri could give your side. Naturally going to go wide, naturally going to cross the ball. Technically, it should be better for Wout Weghorst to give Wout Weghorst more opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net. And of course, his impact in the fourth goal was big. I thought his pacing behind was really good. Had that chance that was, the 1v1 that was saved from Claudio Bravo. But I liked it. I thought the cameo was good. Casper's in agreement. Loved the Pellistri cameo last night. Ross is also in there saying Pellistri could be crucial. But it seems like Ten Hag wants our fullbacks in the box in the final third. Brandon is saying, I think Wan-Bissaka deserves more than Delo. I thought Wan-Bissaka's impact was good yesterday. I still think there's, limitations on his game. Maybe United need to go out into the window and buy another right back. Why not? But I do think Diogo Dalot needs to get back into form and fitness. I didn't think he played too badly last night. On the ball, completed 3 of his 4 dribbles in the game, won 4 out of his 6 duels, 36 touches, 19 passes completed, 100% of his tackles, 1 interception. Didn't think it was a bad performance, but again, thought Wan-Bissaka gave some kind of freshness. And again, United have played, 2 games in pretty close succession, so having that squad and that ability to rotate. I want to see more of Tyrell Malacia as well. I thought he was sensational when he had a run in the team, and him coming in from the cold and having to step up straight away, it's difficult. It is tough to do those things, and I do think he's a very good footballer, but I think we need to see more of him for Man United as the season kind of ticks on and goes out. But yeah, no, I thought the overall performance was good. United could have won 6-7-1, and quite honestly, I think that's that should have happened in a level. It's looking at the chances they created and going to Sevilla and being dominant, being 5 goals up would have been quite nice. But 4-1, I can't complain. Saw Valverde score a goal, great times. But United created an XG of 3.21. Kurt Adams in the chat. Can you shout out my girlfriend, Brittany Thomas? Happy birthday, Brittany. You actually share the same birthday as Sir Chris Sutton. So, must be a good day. Happy birthday to Brittany. Big shout out to Kurt as well, doing some good work, It's important. It's important, Kurt. Good work. Paul, I was happy for Wout to get his goal, but he could have had more yet. It's a frustration in a sense of we all want this guy to do really well. The way that he presses and organises is very, very good. One thing that you might not have picked up on the TV, but it was his ability to kind of marshal the two United wide players, especially when Pellistri and Jadon Sancho came on the pitch. But basically, kind of always being ready to engage the press, wherever Betis were going. And I thought it gave United a real good platform for the rest of the team to join in and be aggressive. And it is very, very important. Man United's number 9 that they buy, be it Kudos, be it Osimhen, be it Vlahovic, need to have someone that's going to work supremely hard in that position to start it. I actually quite like the idea of Kudos. Kudos is a weird player. When I say weird is that this guy is like technically outstanding. He has the ability to score from anywhere, but is he a centre forward? That's like the weird side of him as a footballer. It's a little bit like Cody Gakpo, where it took a while to really understand Cody Gakpo and his game. Gakpo at PSV was a left winger, inside left. But some of the stuff he was doing and some of the positions he was taking up was more like what a number 9 would do. More like a Thierry Henry-esque number 9 forward. There's not going to be a target, but you're going to be able to hit him in certain areas. He's going to drop off the line. He's going to receive defeat. Kudos is in a way different to that again. I'd say Gakpo is a striker playing on the left wing, and he's a striker through the middle. Kudos is very much a midfielder playing up front. There's parts of his game that are very, very raw in that attacking position, where you think it's not kind of suited. I think Kudos could be a very, very good number 10 in this team. So in terms of like United's development, again, I don't know why we're going down this line, but we are, guys. We're going to talk about this because why the hell not? But Kudos, where he would play for United is an interesting one. Would he be a 9? Would he be a 10? Would he be a winger? Again, left-footed, could play on the right-hand side. But I believe his best position for Manchester United could be in that number sort of 10 position, with Bruno playing as the 8. So, starting in certain possession moments high up, but taking that inside left channel line, Bruno to play inside right, or alternatively, you could flip it the other way and play Kudos inside right and allow Bruno to move into the inside, depending on what you want. Do you want, left footer on the left, right footer on the right, or vice versa, left footer on the left, right footer on the right? But that's where I'd probably see him playing. I don't know whether he'd be a number 9 that would play there every week, but could do a really good job if United want to kind of play a super fluid system. We're going to get a lot of him dropping off the line, getting into midfield. He's a real weird player in a sense of like, sometimes when he gets on the dribble, he will beat 4 on 5 players and he will just go, just burst past them with his agility. I think he's a top player. He's got big potential. But if United were to buy him, they would still have to get a 9. So you'd have to go down the line of getting both of them. A fellow nerd in the chat. Well, I do like nerds, so welcome, a fellow nerd. Hey, Dave, if the long-term plan is Bruno at 8, Sancho at 10, how do you think these changes could affect the summer? We've kind of spoke a little bit about this. I think with Bruno in that deep position, that solves one of the issues, because I think United still need a number 8. Bruno could be a world-class number 8. Really believe that. Has every attribute you want from an 8 in there. Maybe not as a powerful carrier as possible, but the system looked good with him in that position, deep and then inside right. Jadon Sancho very much could play the inside left position if we're going to go down that way. Same with Kudos in there. There's still, kind of United need that number 9. They need someone to come in and facilitate that role. Looking at the other positions United need. Long term, maybe getting a right-sided centre-back is a priority. So I think 9 and centre-back, and then this maybe 10 or 8, dependent what you want to do with Bruno. So it's kind of like looking at that perspective. I also think Bruno he does get drawn to the ball. I think the best 10s that I've seen with Ten Hag is they do stay a little higher, and they stay in those high positions and drift in like a Berghuis or a Donny van de Beek was very good at Ajax at staying in those high positions. And I feel like Bruno is better when he's got the fluidity to drop off and be a playmaker. So, yeah, I think in terms of what it changed, it doesn't change much. It just means instead of you buying an 8, instead of buying an 8, you buy the 10 or vice versa. And I think that number 9 still a position, and then maybe another centre-back in there. Maybe getting another full-back as well. Could be very good. Ivan in the chat. Even Ferguson. I've been very, very impressed with him, to be honest. We've watched a lot of Brighton this week. Very impressive footballer. Very, very young. Got a lot of talent. Sabo in the chat. Kudos isn't a striker. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you could play 8 or 10. Probably his best positions. What I like when he plays 8 for Ajax is he's very, very good at arriving late into the penalty area to score. United need more goals. Could be something for them to do. Guardian viewer, Dave, as much as I like Wout, I really feel we need a faster striker to get on the end of those through balls from the wingers. We would have thumped Betis 7-1. I think we would have thumped Betis 7-1 if Sir Marcus Rashford had played as the 9 in there. I really do think that would have been the case. It's one of those situations where all the chances that Weghorst had, Rashford scores. And look, it's one of these situations, isn't it, where he's not the long-term solution. He's literally a lone player. The work rate he puts in is fantastic, but by no way is he United's 9 that fires him to the Premier League title. But a good guy. A guy that's going to put the work in, which United, that was the bare minimum under Sir Alex Ferguson. And it's taken us 10 years to get back to that point of being the bare minimum. So bare minimum players that do the defensive work look so good because of what we've had previously, if that makes sense. Casper in the chat would love to have a closer look at Atalanta's Rasmus Højlund. He has like a really weird Erling Haaland-esque part of his game. Still very young in terms of his age, 20 years old. 6 goals and an assist in Serie A. His performances have been pretty inconsistent so far, but when he's good, he is very, 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 very good. Game against Salernitana in Serie A, through the middle. 1 goal, 2 penalties won, 2 goals scored, 92% pass completion. He is very, very quick. He is very, very tall. He's got the Haaland build. I think he's good. He's a good player that has humongous potential. Consistency is a thing that he needs to add to his game. Because too many times it's either, sink or swim. But we expect that being so young. Scored in the 2-0 win over Lazio recent game. Completed 6 out of his 8 dribbles. Another player that can carry as well, similar to Haaland. There's quite a lot of similarities between him and Haaland. I think he's a good player. I think he's got massive potential. I think long-term for United could be great. Paul in the chat, I want Mitrovic. Mitrovic would be beautiful at Manchester United. Just imagine the goals we score with Mitro, back post, bang. That would be great. We've got great wingers in our team. And I think one of the things with Anthony, obviously he's been massively criticised for his creativity. Having a target in there or a proper goal scorer does change things. It really does. So that's something for the long term as well. Robert, I didn't watch the Fabio Vieira performance last night because unfortunately I was on the train back from London because I was recording something that might be back very, very soon. And it might be back stronger. And some people may say it would be a Chumbawamba. But yes, I was on the train, so I missed that game, unfortunately. Couldn't get any signal on the train because in the UK, the trains don't have very good Wi-Fi, even though it costs it cost me £340 to go to London yesterday. £340. F's to my bank account. in the chat. But yeah, let's dive a little bit more into kind of the Bruno Fernandes role from a sort of an analytical perspective. We've looked at the sort of the tactical side of it. We've had a look at the statistics from Bruno Fernandes playing in this deeper role of the heat map and how involved he was. Let's take a little bit of a look at kind of his role within the team, but also Anthony. I want to shed some light on Anthony because the guy seems to get a lot of criticism, and I'd like to show some good stuff. So of course, Man United, Real Betis started off very well. Poor end to the first half, but one of the key things that we saw in that first half was this kind of setup. Fred higher than Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes playing as a number 8. So we pick up the play with Rafael Varane playing a long ball out to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw carries inside, lose possession. Intercepted by Real Betis. Betis look for the counter-attack, and of course Casemiro is there to read the play. And instantly we can see Man United's kind of setup here. So Fred at number 10, inside left. Bruno Fernandes starting low and moving high. This is why I think it's so good, because he has the mobility and stamina to do this. And it's interesting because United need a number 8. And if Bruno Fernandes is that number 8, then we buy a number 10, as we said previously. But Bruno moving into the space, again, unbalancing the opposition. And I think one of the things I also liked about United is that right side was very, very fluid in terms of the players picking up different positions, be it centre mid, winger, fullback, like that a lot on the right. So Bruno moves into that number 10 area. Pretty simple football for Man United. Simple possession stuff, interception. Your number 8 moves into the advanced area. You create a 4-1-4-1 shape in attack. Bruno Fernandes, again, I think his ability to shift pressure is very, very good. Hence why I think he's quite a good player that can start deep and then move. Two Betis players come down to pressurise the ball, spins out and plays to Anthony. It's kind of a simple move from Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes moving from low to high, getting into that number sort of 10 area, the inside right channel, beating the pressure, playing out to Anthony. This is where we want Anthony in these types of positions. Slightly more narrow than we see when he receives wide. I think he hasn't taken up this inside position enough, or slightly more inside. If you take a bit of a thought of this, the wing area is probably the edge of the box. If you imagine a imaginary line from the edge of the box all the way down, that's the wing area. Then we have the inside channels, which he's just getting into right now. But this is where he can do this, where he can check inside quickly and get shots away. Because if he receives in a wider position, by the time that he's hit this area, you've got the Real Betis left winger is going to be back and is going to be blocking the shot from the inside. But when we create these 1v1 transitional moments for our wingers, this is exactly what we want them to do. Not all the time. Again, we want the creativity, we want the underlaps and so forth. But at times, checking inside and getting shots away. Anthony has got a great ability on the left foot to find that, the far post. And it was a superb goal, but it kind of highlighted the kind of low-high play of Bruno Fernandes, but also getting Anthony into a slightly more narrow position. Fantastic goal. So let's look at the first half. Another moment of Bruno Fernandes's play. Man United building from deep, utilising... Oh, sorry, this is Anthony. Rewind. This is Anthony. So one of the criticisms Anthony's had in recent weeks is his lack of creativity. Anthony needs to spend more time on the left wing in games. United need to be changing a lot more freely and fluidly because we can get these types of moments for Anthony. He's got fantastic left foot. I actually played on the left quite a bit, but Ajax, of course, had 3 left-footed players playing the attacker midfield line, so they could do that with more fluidity. But I'd like to see him out there more. Rashford wide right at times and Anthony left. We see it in little moments of the game, but I want to see that a little bit more. The classic sort of Ferguson, Jose Mourinho vibe of switching wingers. Simple, but it works effectively. So Anthony receiving left wing and can play more natural. His orientation is always going to be more naturally for the byline or for the wide area than when he plays on the right and he's going to cut inside onto a stronger left foot. It's just natural. It's a natural thing. So him carrying and driving down into those areas and looking to cross is a massive benefit of him playing in that zone. Carries inside and the ball to Weghorst is absolutely fantastic. As we mentioned before, Marcus Rashford's the 9 in this situation. It's probably 2-0 Man United, and we don't go through the spell on 30 minutes onwards that was poor. But that allowing him to play in that position, I think, is very, very important going forward to give United that extra fluidity in the final third. And we look from a kind of tactical perspective, it's simply, United could do it this weekend if they set up how we've got them here, probably with Malacia coming in, potentially Victor Lindelof, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka into the back four. But this was the team I'd probably go with for the game at the weekend. But having Sancho playing wide left, with his experience playing wide right, means that we could see Antony in those positions a little bit more. Having the ball from the wide area and going wide and getting it into the box. It's kind of one of those situations where the frustration with Antony a lot when he plays right is that he checks on the inside. He doesn't hit the outside more. But that's naturally because of the style. Yesterday, he hit the outside a few times. I think he created quite a good opportunity going wide and going out. But you'll see it a lot more natural on the left just because of his left foot and playing more as a traditional winger, which should get the best out of the nine. Be Weghorst or Marcus Rashford. I want to see that a little bit more, guys. What do you make of that in the chat? Let me jump back into the chat, guys. OG is saying, I want to see Sancho more off the right. Paul is saying Antony needs to be more direct like Garnacho. I think one of the other things that we need to kind of get a bit of a grasp of is Erik ten Hag's wingers at times are very much just progressive. So they're just players that you progress the ball to in a sense of they retaining possession for the next part of the move. So we'll get to a point where United basically just play these types of passes all the time, where the midfield is, the fullbacks are in the midfield, and you're playing that kind of direct, progressive pass out wide. One of the key things with Erik ten Hag's philosophy and what United need to be better at is retaining the ball in the final third. One of the issues that we have when it goes to Antony from that position, so let's say other side of the pitch, Wan-Bissaka's hitting Antony. Every time, you can't just go take someone on, dribble at someone and try and create a chance, because that makes it very easy to defend against. So that pass that goes out, every time we can't see, check in and shoot or check in and cross. You need to be able to put pressure on your opponents. One of the concerns with United's system that I've had this season is a lack of player in the inside right. But if Bruno starts from defensive midfield and moves inside right, instead of having nobody for Antony to play to, so when Antony kind of stops and retains possession, which I think is a very good part of his game, it's a very mature part of his game, he's got someone to play to. So you've got a Bruno Fernandes who has that ability to switch, to play through, to play short, to cross from deep in that area. I genuinely think this Bruno Fernandes new role could really start to unlock the underlap, unlock the passing. And that's the other thing as well. Like at Ajax, you'd frequently see that motion. You'd see the central midfielder making that move. And that's the other thing that we don't see United do enough, not a lot of. And I think that would mix up Antony's game. Okay, so if when he pauses and brings the ball back through midfield, not only can he look for Bruno on the short, but Bruno can spin in and he can find him in behind. We don't see that enough. And that was such a theme with Erik ten Hag's Ajax. But I feel with Bruno Fernandes playing this kind of role and how he interprets space, it's going to be beautiful. Mark, can you explain why Aaron Wan-Bissaka occupies that cam space so often? Aaron Wan-Bissaka's default move is he will receive the ball, he'll play it wide, and he'll just run the inside channel. It's fine. It's what inverted fullbacks do. It's good. It gives United threat. We see him at times getting played through. Other times he's the decoy. He's the decoy a lot. It's almost like it's kind of robotic for him. It's just one of these things that he does that Erik ten Hag has obviously gone through training and said, that's what I like. That's what I want to see. So it happens. But occupying the half space is very, very important. So him in those areas is good. You want to have that kind of that 5-man attack. And obviously long term, what we want to see with United is actually having a, forming a bit of a diamond in midfield, be it the right back and the centre mid or the attacking mid, or alternatively that system. And I think as well with, long term with United and Bruno taking up those areas, because of his passing range and ability to break through, I quite like him in that deep area. Think Toni Kroos, Real Madrid, basically spent his entire career winning the Champions League, playing in this like deep position next to Casemiro. That's what basically won them loads of trophies, and United could do that with the flexibility of Malacia, Wan-Bissaka inside. It's so exciting. Like, I'm so excited. Like, even that 7-0, I wasn't even asked. I'm going to be really honest with you. I wasn't bothered that Liverpool beat us 7-0 because where we've come, like, for me to talk about these principles at my football team is great. Like, I've been watching European football analytically for like 7 years. I've seen so many good teams. I've never seen my team be that team. And now my team is that team. It's absolutely fantastic. So, lose 7-0 to your rivals, but win 3 trophies. Yeah, cool. Sound. Where do I sign the paper? Back into the chat. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, if you took it personally, try and move on from it. These things happen in football. You win, you lose, you draw. Sometimes you spank someone. Sometimes you get spanked. You're either the spanker or the spankee. And it happens in life. But yeah, United's attacking play is going to develop more. Fests in the chat. We need to find a solution for Bruno and Sancho in midfield. Maybe a 4-3-3 with Casemiro deeper. So yeah, the solution we previously spoke about, I don't know whether you were in the chat, would be Sancho number 10 with Bruno deep. Where's Jadon Sancho gone? Oh, yeah, he's wide. He's already on the pitch, Dave. So Jadon Sancho starting as the number 10 and Bruno starting deep. That's the kind of the solution for it in an attacking sense. I'd like to see that this weekend. Would be quite cool. This lineup would be really fun to watch. Really, really fun to watch. And yeah, I think why you prefer Diogo Dalot in that narrow position we spoke about previously with Bruno left half, DM, both fullbacks inside, is that Diogo Dalot is far more suited to playing that position than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. His passing is a lot better. His technical play is a lot better. His awareness is a lot better. So having Diogo Dalot in that kind of inside position could be good. And again, it's the fluid side to it. Like Bruno could be in that position. Malacia could be deep, building with the back three, winning games, playing fun, having a great time. It's all good. Ivan Toney could be a good option, not too expensive. Ivan Toney's going to get banned for around 6 months, probably starting in November, so unlikely that's going to be the case. Anthony needs to mix up, needs to be more unpredictable. Yeah, again, I think the system around him needs to be more unpredictable as well to get the best out of him. Radu in the chat, I'm not saying it was based on what happened last. Yeah, that we just spoke about that. Radu, Anthony on the left. I think I want to see it from the start. I want to see it for a full game. I'd like to see this at the weekend. Could be quite cool. If Sancho maybe wide, and then Marcel Sabitzer maybe playing in the number 10 role. Like to see that. Any more questions in the chat? 7-0. Mark, the 7-0 loss sucked, but it was different to feeling a 4-0 loss under Solskjaer. Feels like the team's mentality is better now. Yes, I thought Ten Hag got it spot on, playing exactly the same 11 and being like, well, you've said all week that if we could play the game again, we change it. And look, we won 4-1, so we did change it. Manuel, could it be Sancho where Fred is and Garnacho on the left? Yeah, that's what could be the solution to kind of that. Sancho in that high position. And then Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony right. But again, I want to see Garnacho right as well. Needs to develop his game in that part. Why not convert Wan-Bissaka to a right centre-back? Doesn't have the ability on the ball to be a centre-back in Ten Hag's team. They need to be very, 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 very good on the ball. I've moved on from the 7-0 defeat a while ago. Good work, Malps. 7-0 with a laughing emoji. Yeah, it was pretty funny, but also not funny. Mark, Pellishi needs to be played a little bit more. Great cameo on the right. Yeah, I agree with that. Like to see him more. Spitz will be quality in the number 10 role. Yeah, I think he'd be very, very good from a pressing perspective as well. Would work very, very hard. Very, very dogged in the final third. Got a lot of quality in that area as well. Like to see that. Again, I mentioned Fred is good, but there's definitely something else. times that Fred lost the ball in areas that you don't want him to lose the ball in that zone. Monza, one thing I noticed with Pellistri was pure quality, needs more chances. Manuel, would you keep Dalot or Wan-Bissaka if we get Frimpong? Definitely Diogo Dalot. Anthony's been poor, do you agree? No, Jay, I do not agree that. I think he's a young player that's playing his first season in the Premier League, in one of the best competitions in the world. Development will take time. We went into some analysis before about how he needs players on the inside. That'll be very, very important to go. Hydra, give it a month and they'll get bored of the 7-0. Dave, what's your top 3 academy players we have right now? Definitely would say Kobe Maino's head and shoulders above the rest. I quite like Gore, but might be a little bit too lightweight. For Man United, Alvaro Fernandes could be a good one that could come back in there. Same with Shola Shoatiri. There's a few that are on the cusp, but need physicality. I think that's one of the big things. I think the academy's let some players down in. We're building the same lightweight footballer, and unfortunately, the Premier League's not a lightweight competition. You need that. You need to get yourself to the gym. You know what I'm saying? Hugo, Bruno is the perfect replacement for Eriksen, and Sabitzer would be a better unit, whilst you wouldn't lose the work rate. Erik Ten Hag likes with Weghorst. Very, very nice. Do you think Pellistri is so good? I think Pellistri's good. I think he's a good player. I think he deserves more minutes, yeah. Do I think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread? No. I think he's a good player with talent. Talent is one thing. Delivery is another. In there. Do you think Barella would be a good signing? What about Mason Mount? So I think with that, if you're looking at both of those in different parts, with Barella, he is that kind of real top quality footballer, but it's kind of how you would fit him into the team, with kind of Bruno in the deep position. So in simple terms, it would be kind of Barella coming into that advanced area. The technical quality of Barella is absolutely there. The work rate is there. He's a very, very, very complete midfielder. Very, very complete. 26 years old. Right footer. Obviously playing for AC Milan. They very much play a kind of 3-5-2 in those games. 3 chances created against Udinese, 1 big chance created, 2 shots, 4 out of his 5 dribbles completed, 11 out of his 12 duels, 4 out of 4 tackles won. He's a player that would be supreme in the pressing unit that we want to build and so forth. One slight criticism you potentially say is maybe he's right-sided, and do we want Bruno to play that role? I don't know, but then it's also looking at the overall level of what he could bring. As we saw there, 5 goals and 6 assists in the game. Average positions, we can see him there inside right position. So I think if he were to be brought in, could play deep, could play low. I think he's got that duality to him, which I definitely like, the fluidity in there. But also it would give real good pressing. So you could rotate it around with Bruno playing deep and high. I wouldn't say Barella's the best deep line playmaker there is. I think Bruno would do that role a little bit better. But having Bruno inside left, Barella inside right would be a great option. Very, very expensive though. Barella would be for Manchester United, which with Mason Mount, you're probably going to be seeing a similar idea, a similar price. Mason Mount would be absolutely perfect for that number 10 role that we're looking at. Had a pretty bad season, but we could say that about a lot of Chelsea players in the Premier League. They've struggled this season. They really have. And Mason Mount has struggled to hit the same form of last season. But I believe, look, again, 24 years old, young player. We have to get this in our mindset. 24 is very young in football. There's another potential 10 years of his career to go. When you look at what he achieved last season For Chelsea, was only one of only 3 players that got over 10 goals and 10 assists in a single season. This is exactly an Erik ten Hag player. Fluid, technical, stays high, receives well, with only Mohamed Salah and Bowen being players that have got 10 goals and 10 assists. Like, superb performances. Against Leeds United, 5 shots, 2 chances created, 3 out of 3 dribbles, goal and assist. That's the kind of level that you can get from someone like a Mason Mount. I think looking at his position, be at number 10, there is a development still. There is another level that he can go. And I think the consistency definitely needs to be there. But I think he's got such a high level that with Erik ten Hag, we've seen players like Fred turn into very, very good players. There is a level of development there. It's expensive. He's English. There is benefits to both of those situations, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know whether it's quite right. I like him. I think Mason Mount's a brilliant footballer. I really do. I think now he's underrated because he's had a bad season. Ross in the chat, I hope Ahmad comes back and breaks in. I believe he has the highest ceiling. Yeah, he's been very, very good when I've watched Sunderland. Like, he's an absolute threat. In the games, still a little inconsistent is what you'd say. Still a little inconsistent through the games. He'll have some really good games and he'll drift out of other matches. Scored recently off the bench against, not off the bench, sorry, started against Coventry. Really, really good goal, that one. Very much playing in a fluid role with Patrick Roberts. Kind of switch positions, but he's playing inside right. So if Ahmad comes back, he would come in and play that inside right role that we just looked at. And I think that potentially could be his best position. But he could also play wide. So, look, Ahmad left-footed is absolutely perfect. Probably needs another season on loan, you'd say. Probably another season on loan for Ahmad. But would basically be playing that number 10 role. Drifting out to the right. I think that would give good fluidity with Anthony as well. Mentioned before, link up with Patrick Roberts at Sunderland is very, very good. I like the players bounce off other players, and you can clearly see a really good relationship and understanding. That's something that you can replicate. There's something that Jadon Sancho obviously had at Borussia Dortmund with fullbacks. We've not seen that at United just quite yet. Jumping back into the chat, what about Florian Wirtz? I can't remember what game I was watching. I was watching some game with it when he was playing, and I'd forgot that he'd come back from injury. And I was watching Leverkusen, and I was like, who's that lad there? He looks very, very good. I think that was when I was having a look at Jeremy Frimpong in one of the matches, and I was like, who's this player that keeps linking the play really well and playing through balls and looks absolutely awesome? And yeah, it was good old Florian. I think it might have been this game. Absolutely superb. Like, brilliant footballer. Have him in a heartbeat. Absolutely have him in a heartbeat. His ability across the line is just superb. Technically unbelievable. Great promise, great potential. And I think he could, do really well in this United setup. I think what I like about him as well is at times he does stay high up the pitch and gets involved in those areas. Could see there with his number 27. Nice and high. The one with attacking midfielders. Thoughts on Anthony's progression right now? It's growing. He's growing. Eventually we'll be back up to the right level in there. And don't think he's a flop. If you regard Anthony as a flop, just watch more Anthony. Watch more Anthony. And understand that he's just 23 years old. And that's why he costs so much money, because he is so young. Anthony is literally 9 years younger than me. That is mental. Manuel, do a video on the ideal signings for United. Yes, we will do. Won't be providing the options of ownership. I don't think I'm going to be talking about ownership at all on this channel. I don't think it's part of something I want to talk about. I would prefer Man United to be fan-owned 50+1, but that is never going to happen. So anyone that comes, it doesn't really matter. Man United is still Manchester United. And these people are here for a short period of time in the history of this wonderful, wonderful football club. And they should respect the club and what it is and the history of the football organisation. And there should not be any change in terms of how you view these people that buy these football clubs, because that is what we call sports washing. So we keep the same opinion on Man United. We love Man United. But that has no feeling on the owners. Separate it in your minds, guys, because then sports washing doesn't work, and then we take the real victory in life. Right, let's actually talk a little bit about the actual match for this weekend, or the matches this weekend in the Premier League. So, top of the league, bottom of the league. Man United are facing 19th in the Premier League this season. Which is good. Do you think we should go for Mitoma? I like that question before we dive in. Let's talk a little bit about Brighton. Great segue. It's almost like Prod is part of the team. Mitoma is a player of immense quality. I love the guy. I think he's very, 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 very good. I think him on the dribble is one of the best dribblers in the world of football. The way that he shifts the opponent with his body balance is sublime. The goals arriving at the back post are good. The goals when he's carried are very, very good. He gives that great option in behind the defence. His assist against Stoke was very, very good. Great movement off the ball. You need your wingers to have that duality, that triple threat. Deep, feet, in behind. Simple, brilliant. Do United need Mitoma? No. Can I enjoy Mitoma not at United? Yes. And that's unfortunately what I think. Hey, look, Man United have got 5,000 left wingers. United don't need to buy a left winger in there. I think he's great. I think he could play for City. He could play for Liverpool. He could play for any team in European football. But we're just going to have to enjoy him from afar, which is upsetting. But Brighton will continue. Evan Ferguson, superb footballer for his age, 18 years old, so mature. And one of the analytical points that we looked at in our recent video on the Statman Dave YouTube channel was Brighton's box midfield and how it is being utilised to overload the opponents. So to give you a bit of a description on Brighton and how they play, they build basically with their two centre-backs deep and then four players across the line, the two DMs and the two wing-backs, all on the same line. We can kind of see it from an average positions perspective a little bit there. Obviously, the fullbacks also are involved in the final third, but we can see the shape really well there. Two centre-backs deep, drawing the opponents on. Two DMs, two wing-backs, two inside forwards, attacker midfielder that drops off to receive to feet, and a forward that drops off the line. Beautiful average positions. De Zerbi is a genius. Why it's so different to what we see is because the build-up and the makeup of structures that we previously see are different. A building with three centre-backs and two DMs. Building with two centre-backs, three halves. A DM and two wing-backs, or a DM and two centre-mids. This is completely different. This is building with six players. This is drawing your opponents on so deep to then get into the final third and create faux counter-attacking opportunities for Mitoma, for March. It's simply brilliant. Like, the football is outstanding. Very, very outstanding. And we've done a detailed video about why this could become the meta of football. Go and check the video out. Matt, would Kim Min Jae be a potential target for Ten Hag? I hope so. Kim Min Jae is sick. I'd have Kim Min Jae over Jurrien Timber. Yeah, for sure. In there. Question is, how did we identify to sign the next Mitoma, the next Caicedo? We can't wait to go paying 60 to 70 million. Buy these guys from Premier League clubs. We need to sign them as soon as possible. We need to build out our data. And we need to get somebody in the head of data role that doesn't work, that hasn't previously worked at a clothing brand. And that's how we find them. We build the right structure. We give the nerds the power. One day I'll come and do it. Don't you worry. It'll take me a little bit of time. Got to do me some badges. Got to do some learnings. But we'll be there at some point. But yeah, Brighton, great team to watch. Beautiful team. I am absolutely in love with Moises Caicedo. He is so good. I would take him in an absolute heartbeat. at my football club. Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, City, Liverpool. The kid is so, so good. And I say kid because he's 21. Oh, God. Man United could own this guy. They literally could have this guy. They could have this guy for £4 million. Oh, it makes me feel a little crazy. James, great question in the chat. James Robert Affleck. Are you off to join Chris Wilder? My phone's currently on Do Not Disturb. Maybe I would have got the call as we are talking. But yeah, that would be great. That would be real good. Yeah, guys, make sure you smack like as well. Look, we're only on... How many likes are we on? How many likes are we on? Somebody check the likes. We should at least be... we're on 70 likes, guys. That's got to get 100 each. Come on. 100 likes. Smack them right now. Let's get this party started. Let's go. Do you see Evan Ferguson at United? I think him and Ten Hag, match made in heaven. He's got a lot of things that I like about a forward. He's getting coached by one of the best coaches in the world right now for deep-lying forwards. United need a deep-lying forward, a player that's going to come off the line, receive defeat, and play. Or they need a false nine. Either or. Ferguson is... I like him a lot. I really do. It's that option into feet. And then getting into the bottom. 93 pass completion. 4 shots. 100% triples. But no, the big thing with his average position, number 28. It creates another box. So Brighton are basically like double box. Box with the 2 centre-backs and 2 DMs. Box with the 2 DMs and the 2 forwards that drop off. It's simply sublime, guys. It's absolutely brilliant. And then the threat of the inside forwards out wide from Matoma and McAllister. It's such a good system. You know, their goal scorers arguably are their 2 wide players. And the rest of the people are linking the play and playing through. So good. Florian Wirtz and Frimpong. So much talent in the Bundy. There's always talent in the Bundy. But we've got to make sure that we're not, overcommitting to the Bundy. And finally, Brighton. I'm just excited to see where the project goes next. I think there's some really exciting players that they brought in. Facundo looks like a massive talent. Sacramento looks like a big talent as well. It's just a really good project right now, Brighton. Great team to watch. As much as you can watch Brighton, watch them. I think what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to work BBC in the morning, watch the 12:30 Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Then I think I'm going to watch Brighton Leeds. Then I'm going to have a nap, and then I'm going out. That is what we're doing this weekend, guys. We are going out on the absolute smash. Right, let's continue through Premier League discussion points, chat around the teams. Liverpool, of course, they got to keep going. If they want to get into the top 4, they got to be winning games against teams like Bournemouth. From a fantasy football perspective, I have Mohamed Salah. He needs to keep scoring points because he does. And, it's a double game week for certain clubs this week. I am backing Mohamed Salah, so you better not bloody let me down, all right? You can't just cream Man United and then go back into your hole, Mohamed. That is just not on. That is not on, not acceptable. For my fantasy team this week, any fantasy football players? I saw Ewan in the chat previously. Yes, I didn't do the wild card. And yes, Ewan, my team looks absolutely fantastic. We've currently got 3 doublers this week. Pinnock, Matoma, and Tony. I'm in the mindset of, I believe, Rashi, Salah, Saka could beat some of the doublers this week. But if you've got 6 doublers, that's fantastic for you. I will be wildcarding in game week 33 to set up a bench boost in 34 and the back end of the season. That is my strategy, free hitting on game week 29. I think I've got enough coverage this week. I think I've got enough quality this week. So I am not too worried, to be fair, about that. But any fantasy football questions, do get them into the chat and let me know, such as, is Bruno Fernandes going to play deep for the rest of the season? What does that mean for his goals and assists? But yeah, back to Liverpool briefly. They've got to keep going. I think Cody Gakpo has been a revelation at number 10. Sublime against Man United, linking the team. Could see him there, top of the diamond. They need to continue with that. Fullbacks high and so forth. Moving through to Chelsea. I think Graham Potter's found it. I think he's stumbled on a formation and a system that works. Last 2 games, I've been impressed with the system, the setup. They've gone 3-4-3. It's almost like Chelsea should be playing 3-4-3 all the time. He did play this at the start of his tenure as Chelsea manager, but got beat 4-1 by Brighton and then went away from it. But you're looking at how to get the best out of a number of these players. This is it. Like, Chelsea have stunk up defensive midfield this season. As in, like, the player that's facilitating that role has looked quite poor in a defensive sense on the dribble. Enzo Fernandes has been dribbled past 3 times per game in the Premier League this season. But when you play a back three, that's less of a problem. Because if your midfield gets penetrated, one of your centre-backs can come out, engage in midfield, you're sorted. But I think one of the bigger things for Chelsea, we all know this, they like wing-backs. They've literally recruited wing-backs. They've spent a lot of money on wing-backs. They build wing-backs in their academy because they play 3 at the back in the academy. It's all coming together for Graham Potter. Chilwell's return to form. Assist last week. Looked very, very dangerous in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund. Created 2 chances in that game. 1 big chance, had 2 shots. Looked good defensively. And as well, Reece James, best position wing-back. The freedom to attack, the freedom to drift. But I think the kind of other side of Chelsea is Kai Havertz in the last 2 games. Like, Kai Havertz took so much criticism. Chelsea Rory basically destroyed him. Absolutely destroyed him going into the week in the Premier League. Like, he took him apart on Sky Sports. And Kai Havertz has come up clutch. Missed the penalty, of course, against Borussia Dortmund, but scored the retake. And I thought he was very good against Leeds United, linking the play. This seems like this could be the best Kai Havertz. Bit of a false 9, but with 2 players really close to him. When we look at the average positions, we can see Havertz is actually a little bit deeper than the 2 forwards, arguably like a 3-4-1-2 with a number 10. Similar to the Borussia Dortmund average positions. You're looking at Kai Havertz off the line. Felix off the line in this one as well, but Sterling high. This could be the best Chelsea system and setup. They look very good. Kovacic, of course, back, captaining the side. What a player he is. Having Enzo Fernandes and Kovacic in your midfield is absolutely brilliant. Like, this just seems to be that Graham Potter's got it on. And I really, really hope Coach Graham does it. I really do, because I think he's a fantastic coach. He deserves time at Chelsea. It has been one hell of a mess, and I agree. Look, the form has been awful. But maybe this is the right system. Big game against Leicester, though. They are a odd team this season. When James Maddison flies, they fly. When they don't, they struggle. He's going to be someone that Chelsea really do need to contain in those areas. But I think it's a massive advantageous position for Chelsea. Moving through to Fulham Arsenal onto the Sunday. Arsenal have got to be a little bit careful with their rotation. They obviously played midweek in the Europa League away in Portugal. They started off with a very strong lineup in a sense of, Gabriel Martinelli and Saka playing. William Saliba, Zinchenko, Xhaka. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that start in their league team. There needs to be a point where Arsenal prioritise the Premier League and they stop focusing on the Europa League. Otherwise, they may struggle in both, which I think is something they need to kind of fix up. In there. Great result last week against Bournemouth. Brilliant comeback, obviously inspired by Reece Nelson. He's set to start on the left wing with Martinelli through the middle. Martinelli's gone from everyone removing him from his fantasy team to being absolutely vital. His ability on the carry is simply sublime. Went on such a lovely, mazy run against Sporting Lisbon last night. Completed 7 of his 9 dribbles, but missed 2 big chances in the game. It's something Arsenal are still figuring things out. I think they definitely need to sort some stuff out. And I tell you what, Marcus Edwards is going to get picked up by a Premier League team very, very soon. His passing, his ability on the ball looks very dangerous. Left footer. Right, let's finish off talking a little United. One last blast. United face Southampton on Sunday. United expected to make some changes. I think Martinez will start with Victor Lindelof in this game. I think Sabitzer comes in. I think Sancho comes in. I think Marcus Rashford through the middle. I think one of the big things with Manchester United, this kind of development of the team and the growth of of what's going on and how it's evolving. I think you've got to play Rashford through the middle. He's won 3 Player of the Months in the Premier League this season already. He's won back-to-back January and February. In February, he was absolutely fantastic. Most goals scored, most game-winning goals, most headed goals, most shots on target. The guy is in so much form right now that I think you've got to start him through the middle. You really do. I think that with the creation and what we saw last game with Weghorst through the middle, if Rashford's getting that service from Anthony when he's drifting to the left-hand side, we're going to see goals. I would potentially freshen up the back line as well with Aaron Wan-Bissaka in there. Definitely brings Sabitzer into attacking midfield. I think that's an important thing. Southampton are a team that are very defensive and will look to play on the counter-attack. In their game against Leicester City, the way that they defended was good. They looked at counter-attacking situations with pace out wide. So it's about controlling the right moments of the game. And I think having Bruno in deep in midfield is going to be vastly important to getting at Man United. Again, simple thing when you play Southampton, do not give away free kicks in and around the penalty area, wide or central. James Ward-Prowse is literally 1 free kick away from David Beckham's record. This guy is a master. Do not give away silly fouls. Hence why there's no Fred this week. There is no Fred. Can't be afforded to giving away those silly fouls. We're starting to start United. Obviously, the fluidity on the flanks. Anthony one wing, Sancho the other wing. Casemiro, Bruno deep in midfield. Marcel Sabitzer playing as the number 10. But he might be injured. Let's just take a quick look at our injury news table. Potential return. Just got a knock. Should be back for the game. I think his control in this match is vitally important. And his passing versus Fred. United do not need to give the ball away like Fred did against Real Betis in those high areas. But I do think that Southampton definitely look a lot better than they did previously under Nathan Jones. Bella Kotchamp was superb in that first game against Manchester United. He is a player that I would 100% buy when Southampton inevitably get relegated. 21 years old. Looks very, very good against Leicester City. 4 clearances, 3 interceptions, 2 out of 2 of his tackles, won 3 out of 3 of his ground duels in the match. He's just a player that's very, very good. But should be advantage Manchester United. Just need to start fast. And I think a slight rotation in the team to allow you to get the likes of Jadon Sancho into the 11, Marcel Sabitzer into the 11. But yeah, good game. Guys, get your score predictions in for Man United's game with Southampton. Dave, what do you think about Florian Wirtz? Absolutely sensational. AK Hill in the chat is saying we need to buy a playmaker like McAllister. I think McAllister would be sensational at United. Would be great in that Sabitzer role. Or the Fred role, however we want to describe it. Playing in that position. Just, that's kind of what he did for Argentina. That's what he's doing for Brighton right now. Paul, ward-prowse, no ward-prowse, worldies. Fred might give a free kick away. And come back like Ronaldinho in the second half. Typical Fred. Prod is going to go 3-1 to Manchester United. Guys, get your score predictions in right this second. We've got to buy Dumfries from Nibbles in the chat. Do you think Maddison would be a good signing for United? Only if he stays fit, but we could facilitate that high role really well. Just needs to be fit, works hard. Dodgy hip will be the only thing. But yeah, get your score predictions in, guys. And then that's big GG's in the chat. Party done. Go and enjoy your weekend. I need to rest my voice. It's absolutely battered. Wilco in the chat. Love it. 1-0 Saints. You got to respect it, Wilco. Good to see you, my friend. Realistic transfer window. Kudos. Probably Osimhen. Yeah, those two. 9-0 from Raj as well. Great score predictions. Lovely, lovely stuff. Right, guys, that is GG's in the chat. Thanks for everybody sticking around today. Much love. We will see you all very, very soon. Last little score predictions coming in. Ratu's going to go 3-0 United, and Akil's going to go 4-0 United, proving a point. That's exactly what Manchester United need to do. Prove a big, big point. You know, that's life. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. Smash the like button into oblivion. And get into the comments your score predictions. But yeah, that's GG's. We've had a great time today. Make sure you are having a good weekend as well. Much love. And we will